697 job applications, 116 rejections, 12 initial interview responses, 2 final round interviews, and finally 1 job offer. This is what it took to finally land a junior level software engineer position, not for me, but for my partner.
If you're looking for a job right now and feeling discouraged, just know that I applied to 1,623 companies before I got my current job offer. Throughout the whole process, I kept a really detailed list of all my applications, my interviews, everything I did, and I just tallied up a bunch of statistics and my jaw's on the floor. I cannot believe it. But it may make you feel better if you're feeling really frustrated with the job search right now, so let me share. Okay, I received 795 total rejections. I interviewed with 61 different companies, so 60 of those rejections came after I'd done some kind of interview of sorts. I did 112 total interviews, and the most interviews I did with any single company was 6 rounds, 9 total calls. And I got rejected. I also did 32 total assessments. So this could be like case studies, take-home assignments, coding challenges. And just hypothetically, if you were to assume that each interview was 30 minutes, which many of them were longer, much longer, 112 interviews times 30 minutes, that equates to 56 hours of interviewing. And last thing, the job that I ended up getting was 4 rounds of interviews each 30 minutes. This is my 3rd full-time corporate job, and I will say I have never, ever had to apply to nearly as many jobs in the past. Like the job I had before this, that one I remember being kind of tough to find, and I think I applied to like less than 200. So if you're facing a lot of rejection, you feel like it's endless applications, let this be your motivation, because you just got to put your head down and do the work and you'll see results.
Welcome back to Debunking Bullshit About the Applicant Tracking System. Today we're tackling the ever-present question, why did I get rejected so quickly if there aren't robots? There are 2 answers to this, and the first is more simple in that the recruiter might have just been really on top of the resumes and started going through them as soon as they came in and rejected you. The second is what's referred to as knockout questions. These are the things that you fill out when you actually go into the application itself. So you will never get knocked out based on something on your resume. You will only ever get knocked out because of the questions that you answer on the application itself. So these can be things like, are you 18 years or older? Are you authorized to work in the United States? Will you take a background check or drug screen? Do you have any felonies or misdemeanors? I've also seen less of these, but I have seen them popping up more where they ask, do you have experience in this industry? Do you have X years of experience in this field? And the reason that those are there is because the company likely has policies or they have to follow some kind of regulation, and you have to meet those qualifications. It's not like the difference between having a bachelor's and a master's where one would be nice to have. These are requirements for the job that you absolutely have to answer correctly for. And this is also not a sign to lie, because let's say you do have a misdemeanor and all of a sudden you lie about that question, and now you've gone through the whole entire job process, and sure, maybe they do hire you. There's going to be a background check, and it's just going to be a huge time waste for you when you could instead look for companies that are dedicated to actually helping people with felonies and misdemeanors. And I get this question a lot too. You will never, ever, ever get knocked out because you didn't have the right keywords or the right number of keywords on your resume.
Okay, the knockout questions, as a recruiter, yes, there are knockout questions that people will literally cancel themselves out on because they did not read correctly. So instead of saying, yes, I do have this experience, they just automatically select no, because all of the questions before that were no questions for them. Like, do you need relocation assistance? No. And then they move forward with, do you have experience with this? And they hit no instead of saying yes, which is what we want you to do. Like if you're qualified and you have this experience, you hit yes. There are some issues with the whole questionnaire model, because I get it. After spending 10 minutes on an application, or this is like your 15 application of a day, you get tired and you're just starting to try to move really quickly and clicking things that can immediately take you out of running for the job. Because if there are some questions like, do you have experience in XYZ? It's there as a filter because candidates are applying without that experience, and it's an actual requirement for the job. So she's 100% right when she's talking about this. However, one thing she didn't talk about is that there are applicant tracking systems that can filter resumes based on what you do put on your resume. So do not think that just because you don't have experience listed in your resume that that won't count against you in the applicant tracking system. There are certain systems where AI is filtering based on what you're putting on your application and resume. So if you don't match the keywords, you're not at the top of the pool. And so you're not prioritized by that recruiter that actually looks at your application, or that hiring manager that looks at those applications that have been pre-filtered by AI. So she's not 100% there, but please know that when it comes to the questions that you're answering, that's not AI. That's actually you taking yourself out of a running for a job because you answered yes or no on a question where we might have wanted you to say, yes, you do have XYZ experience because it's a requirement for the job.
Most job applications, most CVs don't even reach a human hand on the other side, right? Especially if you have sent your CV via the online platform, or recruitment portal. The reason for that is because most companies are using what we call an ATS.
75% of resumes are rejected before they reach the hiring manager, and only 5% of applicants are called in for an interview. The average corporate job opening gets 250 resumes, and of those, between 4 to 6, more like 2%, will be called for an interview. So what does it mean to be qualified? Frankly, it can mean different things to different people. The job description that you compared your resume against likely specified minimum education requirements, minimum number of years of relevant experience, as in function, sector, etc., and a few specific skills or competencies. It might show some preferred qualifications or something to that effect, suggesting that you would have a leg up if you met those qualifications. Now, to be honest, these job descriptions are often hastily written or pulled out of a drawer from 5 years ago. The hiring manager might tell the recruiter what their ideal looks like, but that might not be reflected in the written job description shared with applicants.
People don't like to hear this, but it's true. You can and will get rejected from jobs that you are perfectly qualified to do. And this sucks, I know. But the reason that this happens is because there are other candidates that are at least as qualified as you are. And this is especially true if you've made it into the later stages of the interview process. As a recruiter, I can say that all of the candidates that make it to the final stages of the interview process would be a great fit for the job. So when the hiring team is having to choose between 5 fantastic candidates, it's less about which candidate is lacking and more about determining which candidate is the correct choice. And this is where hiring managers can and will get picky about their preferences. Sometimes they'll go with a candidate that has the most experience in a specific niche. Sometimes they'll hire the candidate that's coming from a bigger company. Sometimes they want the candidate with startup experience. Honestly, most of the time, they just hire the candidate that the team likes the most. Personality hires are real. And so it's less about them rejecting you and more about them choosing someone else. And I know that this is hard to hear, especially if it's for a job that you really wanted. The good news is that if you did interview well enough to make it to the final stages of the process, the company will remember you and they will reach out when they open up new headcount. Because a no today is not a no forever.
Okay, y'all, let me tell you, I had the hardest time finding a job after being laid off this year in 2024. And I saw rejection after rejection after rejection when applying to jobs online. And so I will tell you, in 2024, you cannot just simply apply to a job and think your chances of getting that job are going to be decent, because it's most likely not. How I ended up having phone interviews was strictly from
So I just found out that I got rejected for 2 jobs that I spent about a month interviewing for. And I'm trying my very hardest to not take it so personally and to not be so severely hurt over it. Because I really do feel like I'm at the end of my rope and I'm just mentally and just physically exhausted. I am so tired of job searching. I'm so tired of getting rejected for jobs that I feel like I have the necessary qualifications for. I'm tired of getting rejected for jobs that I feel like I'm overqualified for. And it's just yeah, there's other opportunities out there. But these 2 particular jobs were at a university that I really wanted to work at because I worked there as a student and I really liked it. And now that I know that I'm not going to get that opportunity, it's crushing me. Like, it really crushes me. And it's so hard because, like, I feel like I'm one of them people who it's hard for me to navigate, like, social media because I can admit I get jealous. I can be a jealous person. And, you know, seeing people reach their goals and, you know, you're still so far away from yours, it hurts.